Mia was a beautiful 18-year-old girl, but no one ever told her so. No one ever paused to smile at her. No one ever said, "Mia, you matter." What she got instead were harsh words, sharp orders, and constant ridicule. She stayed in a cramped boys' quarters tucked behind a large house in the city. Her mattress was thin and laid directly on the floor. When it rained, the roof dripped. The windows were just empty, broken frames. That was the only world she knew. Each morning, long before the birds began to chirp, Mia was already up. She tied a scarf over her head, slipped on her worn-out brown slippers, and stepped out with a broom in hand. She swept the compound, cleaned the cars, scrubbed the windows, mopped the floors, then dashed off to do the laundry for Mr. John's kids, Mary and David. Mary had a nasty mouth. David was even worse. They were Mr. John's biological children. Mr. John was the gatekeeper of the house, but he ran the place like he owned it. The real owners had been gone for years. "Mia! Why are my socks still wet?" Mary shrieked one morning, flinging them in her face. Mia calmly picked them up, bowed slightly, and whispered, "Sorry, Mary. I'll dry them better." Later that same day, David hurled his plate to the floor. "Is this food? You trying to poison me, stupid girl?" She cleaned it up without a word. She had learned that talking back only brought slaps and kicks. Her clothes were always ragged. She rotated just 2 faded dresses every week, one blue, one brown, both full of holes under the arms. She had no mobile phone, no friends, no books. But worst of all, she had no family. No mother. No father. No love. At night, she often sat silently at the back of the house, gazing at the stars. Tears would stream quietly down her face as she whispered, "Daddy, where are you? Did you forget me? Mr. John used to say, you should be grateful. Your father dropped you here as a baby and vanished. If it wasn't for me, you'd be dead." But Mia never understood why he left, or why he never came back. She had no memory of him. Just one thing, an old photograph she found tucked inside a book. In it, a smiling man held a small girl on his lap. On the back was written, "To my precious Mia. I'll be back soon." She hid it under her mattress, and every night before sleep, she looked at it and whispered, "Please come back." No one in the house knew about the photo. They only saw her as the girl who stank of sweat and soap water. Even when she went to bed starving, nobody asked if she had eaten. She drank water and lay down. Still, in the corners of her heart, a small hope flickered, maybe someday, things would be different. What Mia didn't know was that someday had already begun. The sun rose slowly over the compound. Birds crossed the sky. But Mia noticed none of it. She was already out, scrubbing the tiles with water and an old broom. Her hands ached. Her belly rumbled with hunger. Still, she said nothing. She worked. Mary strutted out in a bright yellow dress, phone in hand, laughing obnoxiously. She glanced at Mia with disgust. "You're still breathing? Go scrub the toilet, you goat." Mia bowed her head and nodded. Suddenly, a loud horn blared at the gate. That sound was rare. The house was always quiet. Visitors never came. The family that owned it had vanished long ago. Mr. John ran everything now like a king in an empty palace. "Open the gate, are you deaf?" David yelled from inside. Mia dropped the mop and hurried to the gate. She wiped her hands on her skirt and pulled the heavy metal open. A black car sat outside, shiny, expensive, too perfect for the street. She had never seen anything like it. The driver stepped out and opened the back door. A tall man, maybe in his late 40s, climbed down. His shoes gleamed. His white shirt was spotless. His gaze was sharp, yet soft. He looked around slowly, then locked eyes with Mia. He froze. Mia quickly looked down. "Good morning, sir," she whispered, unsure who he was. What's your name?" His voice trembled. "Mia, sir," she answered softly. He stepped forward. "How old are you?" 18, sir." The man dropped his bag, staring closely at her face. Then he reached into his wallet and pulled out a worn photograph. "Look," he said. Mia glanced up, and gasped. It was the same photo she kept under her mattress. The same man. The same little girl on his lap. Her breath caught. You're my father," she whispered. His face turned pale, but he nodded. "Yes, Mia. I'm your father. I went abroad on a business trip when you were little. I was meant to return in 2 weeks, but I was betrayed. I lost everything. I only just made it back." Mia couldn't speak. Her lips trembled. For years she believed he abandoned her. For years she wept alone. But now, he was here. Just then, Mr. John stepped out. He saw the man and froze. "Yes, sir, you're back." The man turned sharply. "John, what happened to my daughter? Why is she dressed like a servant?" Mr. John fumbled. "Sir, I can explain, it's not what." But the man wasn't listening. His eyes stayed on Mia. And in that moment, he saw everything. The bruises. The hunger. The silence. His heart shattered. His anger began to rise. The entire compound fell still. Even the birds stopped singing. Mr. John stood frozen, like a man caught in his own trap, while the tall man, Mia's father, moved closer, his eyes blazing. "You gave me your word," he said in a tight voice. "You promised to take care of her. You said she'd be safe here, treated like your own. That was our deal." Mr. John licked his lips, his throat dry. "Sir, things got difficult. You were gone for so long. We didn't know if you were ever coming back. And that gave you the right to make her your house girl," the man thundered. "You and your children turned her into a servant. You fed her scraps and clothed her in rags like she was nothing." Mia stood by the gate, trembling. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. No one had ever defended her before. No one had ever raised their voice for her. Just then, Mary came out, popping gum. "What's all the noise?" she asked, irritated. But when she saw the tall man confronting her father, she froze. Her face shifted. "Is that?" David soon followed, phone in hand, still scrolling. "What's happening?" he muttered. The man turned sharply to both of them. He pointed, "You made my daughter wash your dirty clothes, scrub your mess, sleep hungry while you dined like royalty." Mary blinked. "Wait, she's your daughter?" "Yes," he said, voice steel. "And everything in this compound, this house, belongs to me." David's phone slipped from his hand. It hit the tiles with a crack. "Mia." The man turned back to Mr. John. "Pack up. All of you. You have 1 hour to leave." Mr. John dropped to his knees. "Please, sir. Don't do this. She never told us she was your daughter. She never said anything. She was a child," the man roared. "You knew who she was. You knew. And still you allowed this cruelty. You let your children insult her, overwork her, starve her. You betrayed me. I gave her food. I gave her shelter," Mr. John pleaded. "You gave her pain," the man shot back. "You made her feel worthless in her own father's home. You let her suffer in silence for the crime of being left behind." Mia's eyes filled with tears. Her knees were weak beneath her, but she remained standing. This was everything she had once begged God for. Justice. Vindication. David stammered, "Sir, we didn't know. We're sorry." Don't speak, the man snapped. If you had any decency, it would have shown. But you treated a voiceless girl like dirt. That says everything about who you are. He turned gently toward Mia. My daughter, he said, kneeling before her. I'm sorry. I failed you. But I'm here now. And I promise, you'll never be alone again. Mia burst into tears, not from sadness, but from the weight lifting off her shoulders. For the first time, someone saw her. Someone chose her. The gate she had always opened for strangers, had finally opened her life to truth. Outside, whispers had started. Curious neighbors peeked through fences, crowding near. But inside Mia's heart, something rare bloomed. Hope. She was no longer invisible. The once noisy compound had gone still. Even Mary and David shrank into silence. Mia's father stood in the middle of it all, tall and unshaken. His red-rimmed eyes never strayed from the faces that had failed his child. Go inside, he said softly to Mia. She hesitated. For years, she had feared these people. She had learned to shrink, to obey, to say sorry even when she wasn't wrong. But now, her father had come. And he stood for her. Yes, sir, she whispered, and for the first time in her life, she walked into the house like it truly belonged to her. Mr. John slowly got up, his eyes following her. He turned back to the man, hands raised. Please, sir. I beg you. Don't send us away. We have nowhere to go. It wasn't our intention. You had years, the man said coldly. Years to show kindness. But you chose pride. You chose cruelty. David stepped forward, face pale. Uncle, please. I'm not your uncle, the man snapped. And this house is not your inheritance. You've lived here like kings while my daughter suffered like a beggar. Mary folded her arms. But how were we supposed to know? Look at her, she always looked like a nobody. Her words hung in the air like a curse. The man's eyes locked on hers. Exactly. You saw her rags. You heard her silence. And you assumed she was less. But let me tell you something, royalty doesn't always wear gold. Sometimes, it walks in tatters. He turned toward the gate. You have 30 minutes. Pack. Leave. Mr. John tried one last time. Just one night, please. You had 18 years. That was the end. Mia sat in the living room. For the first time, not on the floor. She sat on the couch. Her hands touched the cushion slowly, as if it might vanish. For years, this house had smelled like sorrow. But now, it smelled like justice. She heard footsteps. Her father walked in and knelt in front of her. I failed you, he said softly. I should have come home sooner. I should have protected you. But I never stopped looking. I never stopped hoping. You didn't forget me, she asked. Never, he replied. She fell into his arms and wept. He held her tightly, like he feared she might disappear again. Outside, the sound of luggage being dragged scraped against the ground. Mr. John, Mary, and David were leaving. The same gate Mia had opened for strangers, was now opening to push wickedness out. Neighbors stood at the fence, whispering. What's going on? Why are they leaving? Who is that man? But Mia didn't care. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. And the same people who mocked her dirty clothes, would now speak her name with awe. The gate slammed behind Mr. John and his children. Their belongings sat in tied-up wrappers. They waited for a taxi in the blazing sun. No one offered them water. No one said goodbye. From behind the fence, the murmurs grew. I thought she was just a maid. She's the real owner's daughter. So that's why he came back like that. Inside, Mia sat quietly on the couch. Her hands folded on her lap, unsure of what to do. The house that had once caged her now felt too big. Too clean. Too strange. Her father sat beside her, watching her face. "You can go change now," he said gently. "You don't have to wear those rags ever again." Mia looked down at her faded brown dress, torn, stained, hanging loosely on her body. The only dress she owned. Mia's voice was soft as she said, "I don't have anything else." Her father stood and quietly reached into his bag. From it, he brought out a small, carefully wrapped package. "I bought this for you before I came," he said, holding it out to her with both hands. "I didn't know if it would fit, but I hoped." Mia took it and unwrapped it slowly, almost fearfully. Inside was a soft blue gown, clean, new, beautiful. Her breath caught. She had never owned new clothes in her life. She looked up at her father, eyes wide. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled. "Come, let me show you your room." Still clutching the gown to her chest like a treasure that might vanish, Mia followed him up the stairs. Each step felt surreal. She had scrubbed those stairs for years, but never climbed them for herself. At the end of the hallway, he opened a door. "This was meant to be yours from the beginning," he said gently. "No more mopping floors. No more sleeping on mats. This is your home." Mia stepped inside. The room was wide and bright. A bed with crisp white sheets. A mirror. A wardrobe. Sunlight poured through large windows. It was quiet. It was hers. She placed the gown carefully on the bed and turned. She hugged him. No words, none were needed. In that silence, every word her heart longed for was spoken. That evening, Mia stood at the balcony watching the sunset. She had seen it many times, but only from behind the kitchen window. Now, it was wide open before her, golden and full of promise. Outside, Mr. John and his children had finally left in a taxi. No one waved. No one cared. Mia stood tall. She was no longer the girl in rags. She was Mia, the daughter of the owner. And for the first time in years, she smiled. That night, the house felt different. Peaceful. As if it had been holding its breath for years and was finally allowed to exhale. In her room, Mia stood in front of the mirror wearing the soft blue gown. She turned slowly, unsure if the girl in the reflection was truly her. Her fingers glided over the smooth fabric. Her hair, now combed. Her face, clean from warm water, not the freezing tap behind the house. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring around her. No broken windows. No leaks. No roaches. The house hadn't changed, yet somehow, it was brand new. She reached under the bed and pulled out a small, old photo. The one she had hidden for years. A little girl on a man's lap. His eyes. Her smile. His handwriting on the back. "To my precious mirror, I'll be back soon." He had kept his promise. Late into the night, a knock came at her door. Her father stepped in with a tray. "I made tea," he said. "And if you're not too tired, I'd like to talk." "I'm not tired, Daddy." His face lit up. "You called me Daddy." She nodded. He sat beside her, placing the tray on the table. "You deserve to know everything." And so he began. "I went on a short business trip when you were 4. I was meant to return in 2 weeks. But I was betrayed. My partners stole everything. They locked me out of the company, sold off properties, and left me with debts I didn't even know existed. I tried to call, but they blocked my lines, erased my records, told lies that I had run away. I was stranded in a foreign country, broke, alone. For years, I worked odd jobs, just to survive. I nearly gave up, Mia. But every day, I remembered you. And the moment I could, I came back. I thought I'd find you safe, in school, laughing. But instead, I found you in rags. Opening the gate for me. Like a stranger. Tears rolled silently down Mia's cheeks. You didn't forget me, she whispered. Never, he replied, holding her hands. You're my only child. The light of my life. They sat quietly, the warmth between them stronger than any word. Then he said softly, tomorrow we go shopping. You'll have clothes. Shoes. And we'll begin plans to enroll you in school. Mia wiped her eyes. Thank you, Daddy. He kissed her forehead. Sleep now. Your real life is just beginning. As he left, Mia clutched the old photo to her chest and whispered. Thank you, God. For the first time in her life, her dreams didn't feel like fantasy. The next morning. Sunlight streamed through the windows like golden ribbons. Mia stretched, her body still learning what comfort felt like. She sat up slowly. The blue gown, neatly folded, waited on the chair. She wore it again, proudly. Downstairs, the smell of eggs and tea filled the air. Her father was in the kitchen, humming. Good morning, Princess, he said cheerfully. Mia smiled shyly. Good morning, Daddy. They ate together, no shouting, no insults, no empty plate in front of her. Just peace. After breakfast, he handed her a small black purse. Inside, money. We're going to the market, he said. You'll choose your own clothes. Her hands trembled. I've never gone shopping before. Not for myself. He took her hand. Today, that changes. They took a cab into the bustling city market. It was alive with color and sound, vendors calling out, children laughing, women bargaining, the scent of spices and perfume in the air. At first, Mia clung to her father's arm. It all felt too big. Too loud. But with every step, her feet grew steadier. They entered a boutique. The young shop assistant eyed Mia's torn slippers and hesitated. Before she could speak, her father said firmly, This is my daughter. She needs everything. Treat her like a queen. The woman smiled warmly. Yes, sir. Mia tried on yellow dresses, green ones, pink and white. She twirled in front of the mirrors, laughing. She chose shoes, bags, and hair ribbons. For the first time, not as a servant, but as a girl who mattered, her father didn't rush her. He simply sat and watched with soft, patient eyes. He had missed too many birthdays, too many little joys, and he wasn't going to miss this one. Later, they shared ice cream on a bench near the bus station. People passed by without a second glance, but for once, Mia didn't feel invisible. She turned to him and asked softly, Daddy, can I ask you something? He nodded. Why did you leave me with Mr. John? He looked out into the distance, regret clouding his features. He had worked with me for years. I trusted him. I thought he would treat you like his own. I didn't know his heart was dark. Mia nodded and said, I forgive you. He turned to her quickly, eyes wide. You do. She smiled quietly. You came back. He pulled her into a tight hug. No more words were needed. When they got home, the compound felt different, cleansed, not just of dirt, but of pain. Mr. John and his children had left behind only silence. That evening, Mia carefully arranged her new clothes in the wardrobe. At the very bottom, she placed her old brown dress, not in shame, but as a reminder of where she came from. 1 week passed, then 2. Life in the Morgan household began to settle into something beautiful and real. Each morning, Mia woke with a smile. Her bed was soft, her clothes clean, and her heart light. Her father, Mr. Anthony Morgan, had reopened his company and was rebuilding his life, but he never missed breakfast with Mia again. They talked, laughed, and healed together. One afternoon, he called her into his study. "Mia," he said gently, "you lost too much because of me. You were treated like a nobody. But you are not. You are my daughter, the only heir to everything I own. And now the world must know it." He handed her a letter with the family seal. "This is a public declaration. Tomorrow, the press will come, and I will tell them who you are." "But why?" she asked. "Because your name deserves to be honored. No more hiding. No more silence. It's time they see the girl who walked through fire and came out with grace." The next day, reporters filled the compound. Cameras flashed, microphones extended. Mia wore a white gown with soft lace at the collar, her hair neatly styled. She stood tall beside her father. He stepped forward and spoke into the mic. "This is my daughter, Mia Morgan. Years ago, I left her in the care of someone I trusted. During that time, she was mistreated, hidden, and denied her rights. But she endured. She forgave. And today, I honor her, not just as my child, but as a woman of strength." Applause followed. Mia's eyes filled with tears, but she stood tall. For the first time, her name was spoken with respect. After everyone left, Mia and her father sat together in the garden. She confessed, "I don't know how to live this new life yet." He smiled and replied, "You don't have to know it all at once. Just live one day at a time. You already have what most people never find." "What's that?" she asked. "A second chance," he said. She leaned her head on his shoulder and closed her eyes. Far away, in a small village, Mary and David lived with their father in a modest mud house. People there pointed and whispered. They walked with their heads down. But Mia never looked for revenge, she didn't need to. Their shame was their punishment. Her peace was her reward. She was no longer the girl who opened the gate. She was the girl who owned the key. Hello, champions. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.